you've reached peak couple energy when your undies match. MeUndies Match Me has you both covered, literally, in super soft ultra-modal undies, socks, PJs, and loungewear. Festive prints? Check. Cozy vibes? Double check. And right now, it's deal season. Get up to 50% off site-wide for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Take your couple game to the next level with MeUndies Match Me. To get deals up to 50% off, go to MeUndies.com/comfort, promo code COMFORT. That's MeUndies.com/comfort, code COMFORT.
Welcome to Witchcast!
'Cause it's Witchcast.
I'm Emily.
I'm Kate.
And we're your co-hosts of this, the Witchcast Podcast.
That's right. We're your learning, growing, ever-evolving novice witches here to explore everything under the woo-woo, esoteric, spiritual umbrella.
And it is a stunning umbrella. And
it
today...
is gorgeous. It is sparkling.
We're talking to someone we've never talked to anyone who does this before.
Oh,
very excited to have her here as a guest.
Yeah, please welcome pet psychic Cynthia Okimoto.
Yay!
Thank you so much for being here, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I haven't done a podcast in a really long time.
Well, we're honored that you're joining us for this one. I'm sure our listeners are going to be so excited to get to know you more. So let's just dive right in. But full disclosure, I did have a session with My Dogs with Cynthia recently, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And she's truly gifted, and you can follow her at Lil Miss Pet Psychic, right, on Instagram. We'll link to everything, and we'll talk about this more for later. But you're extremely gifted with communicating with animals. Tell us, how did you get started? How did you find out that you have this unique connection? Where did this come from?
Sure. So the first time that I was told about this gift was I was in, I think, Siberia and Russia, or like that part of the world. And I was at a spiritual retreat when I was in either grad school or right after grad school. And one of the high priestesses told me that I had the gift of animal communication. And I was like, okay, thanks. That wasn't what I was focusing on. It wasn't really relevant at the time. That was probably about like 12 years ago. And then I think kind of fast forward to 2016 or so, my friend Rat started talking to me, giving her business advice. And she was a friend who, she was part of the same personal development school as me. And so I knew she would be open. And then all of, my friends, once they found out that the Rat was speaking to me, they wanted me to talk to their pets. So I did that. And the really interesting thing that also happened in 2016 is that I started working with a healer who, she has this very unique set of tools that she uses. And so their whole philosophy is really about, we're all beautiful pieces of art, but you just have to chip away the stuff that is covering up who you really are. And so when I started on this journey, I actually started bawling because she regressed me. I had a past life regression. And I was in Vietnam, and I had to put my baby in a little basket to float down the river, and it all clicked to me because my dog, he's still with me. His name is Max. He's a Maltipoo. He had told me, I think maybe 4 years before, that he was Vietnamese, and I was just like, why is my dog saying he's Vietnamese? He's a Maltipoo. And so at that moment, everything kind of clicked, and I'm like, oh, wow, like he was my son then that I had to put in the basket. And yeah, and he hates goodbyes. Most dogs hate goodbyes. He never will kiss me. He's given me one kiss in 14 years.
Wow.
No licks on the face, nothing. He'll lick everybody else, will not lick me. Yeah. So
oh my gosh.
Super interesting. So that was kind of like a really interesting seed that he had planted, that he told me that. And of course I dismissed it because I didn't really know. But to bring it full circle, nothing really happened with my animal communication. I had introduced myself in many circles that I was a part of. Like I did a Mama Gina School of the Womanly Arts. I was doing Access Consciousness. I was doing a ton of healing modalities. And the most common response I got was, well, I already know an animal communicator. I wasn't, I was trying on different hats, but nobody really could accept me as an animal communicator, which was kind of frustrating. And then it wasn't until, I continued to work with that one coach, health coach. I started working with a couple of other people in Dubai and in India, and then I went to this retreat in Bali, and it was on integrity. And when I came back from the retreat, oh my God, I felt like a celebrity. Everybody was just like so nice to me. Like I had a great relationship with my siblings. All the men in my life were telling me how gorgeous I was, and they couldn't stop staring at me. And then this guy from a huge influencer, Max Klimenko from TikTok and Instagram, over like a couple million followers across all of his platforms. He reached out to me and said, I'm interested in what you do as a pet psychic. Can I fly over and interview you? So he came over. I'm sure I was not the only interview in town. And then like that kind of like nothing really happened from that. But the dog store around the corner, Dog Co., learned that I could do animal communication, pet psychic stuff. And so they invited me. I had a couple of events there. And one of them that I filmed at the second event ended up going viral a year later when I finally posted it. So it was just really interesting that saying that I'm a pet psychic versus animal communicator, how people could see me as a pet psychic but not as an animal communicator. And it's such a subtle branding and like energy thing for those of you who are into like, the difference between called Julie and Julia. It's just like I'm a Cynthia, I am not a Cindy. When that switched, people really started to see for who I was and what I could do. And so with that first one of the interviews that I did, readings on the street for a charity event, I was afraid to post it because, the person that I had interviewed, her dog was gay. And I just, I'm open to anything, whatever. But like my reaction, I kind of like, I don't know, the look on my face, I was like, I don't want people to think that I'm like homophobic or cancel me before I get started. So it took me a year to upload it. And once I did that, it went viral. And that's how I started getting more hits. So I know that's kind of a roundabout way of kind of answering it, but it was a lot of inner work. It was a lot of working with coaches and cleaning off the dust and, all that stuff to be received.
That's
wow.
Amazing.
What a journey.
Yeah, what a journey.
Wait, can we back up a little bit? There's so much here that you just said. But if you don't mind sharing, like what drove you to finding these different paths and modalities of healing and energy work in the first place? Was this something that you always kind of were drawn to as a child? Was this something that you had like a mentor or something growing up? Because I feel like a lot of us love to talk to our guests and each other about like, when did you first know, or when did you first have a feeling that you were meant to dive deeper into this world? So I'm so curious about that for you.
Yeah. So I when I grew up, I did, I always thought it was a treat whenever I got to see a psychic or an astrologer, and I would go like, every 2 years or something to whoever my family was seeing. And normally it'd be an auntie who would see someone and then recommend the whole family. So we'd all go, and I just would save up all my questions and just be so enthralled by that. And then, so that was in my like late teens, early 20s. And then I had a roommate who, she was into Reiki, and I'd never heard of Reiki, but as soon as I heard of it, I was like, I don't know why, but I need to learn this. So, I got a couple books on it. And then when I lived in China for 2 years. So when I was 25, I had a Reiki session I was depressed, and I was off my antidepressants. And I decided to get a Reiki session with the guy who also taught Reiki. I liked his energy. He removed a lot of, residual energy effects from being on antidepressants. And then 3 days later, I was like bouncing off the wall. I was just so full of energy and so alive. And so I knew then that I wanted to learn Reiki. So I learned Reiki. I was kind of, I would say, the pioneer out of all my friends. I wouldn't consider my roommate like really someone I hung out with. But in my circle of friends, I was the first one who would, exploring this stuff. And so, I probably gave away 200 free Reiki treatments. I was like getting transference like crazy. And then nobody believed me, which was really frustrating. And then my friend, she decided to learn Reiki, and then she found a bunch of other modalities that, I just kind of went modality jumping every 2.5 years. And I really went all in. Like, I did as much stuff as I could afford, both time-wise and financially. And so it was like, one of those things that was like every couple of weeks I'd be at a seminar. I would do all of their, the chats, buy the books, wear the t-shirts, all that stuff. And it was pretty toxic, I think. But at that point, I still was in super victim mode, if you will. So I was just curious. I didn't think I had any problems. I thought my life was perfect, to be honest. The only thing that really bothered me was that I was single at 29 in grad school. I never had a boyfriend. So that was kind of the only thing where it's like, maybe there's another solution other than reading Why Men Love Bitches and quoting that on repeat to all of my friends. At that, when I turned 30, I did open up a brick and mortar doggy daycare, a full-fledged business in New York City. And, after the first year, it was nothing but drama, and it was crazy. I mean, running a business in New York City, like, you are very open to just the unregulated nature of people being in a rush. And so basically, for 10 years, I ran this business, and I never thought that I had any problems or that any of this could be my doing. But I had just so much, problems with employees, problem with the landlord. I went through 5 accountants, many of whom ripped me off. And I was, signing up for every, marketing company, coach, you name it. Like, I would do whatever I could to get my business to grow, and it could never grow. And so I just became increasingly frustrated. And it wasn't until I kind of learned about, have you heard of Power versus Force?
No.
Okay, so it's this really cool book. I forget David Hawkins, and he has this consciousness scale. And anything below 200, according to him, life is just going to be very difficult, and there's going to be a lot of problems. And my life was kind of like a bad reality show. I lost most of my friends in those 10 years just because I was just in such victim mode. And so when I closed down my business during COVID, I was really able to make a pivot to being a full-time dog trainer, and then being like a pet psychic. But out of it, it was all about just like clearing away as much trauma as I could to be regulated and not have people come after me. I know I've really taken a left turn on this.
No.
This is the kind of stuff we want to know. Yeah.
This is the journey. This is the work. I love it.
This is the journey. Yeah.
All right. So Power versus Force, 200 consciousness. Tell me more about what that means.
Sure. So, according to David Hawkins, anything below 200 is going to be very difficult for one to achieve, just like kind of day-to-day living. So you're going to require outside help, maybe financial, maybe emotional. But for the most part, your normal grit, your normal positive attitude kind of stuff, that's just not going to cut it. Of course, there's going to be trials and tribulations. At 200 and above, but below 200, the energy is too, my understanding is the energy is just too dense. And then still associating with people whose vibrations are below 200, it's like, it doesn't matter how you cut it or what the story is. It's never going to be functional without excessive energy put into it. So above 200, life is manageable. You can have goals, you can achieve them, there'll be setbacks, but an answer or solution easily comes back in. You're supported, and for the most part, life just kind of flows. Does that make sense? And so when I was working, and still am working with the guru in India, he said that at the time when I started working with him, my vibration was 125. So that's the level of, want and desire and kind of fantasy. So a little bit delulu, right? Again, because it's so far below 200, or it is below 200, it could be 199. That's why nothing really ever panned out for me. Working with pets.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I wasn't seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's fascinating. We'll have to definitely dive into that more, and we'll link to that, to his work as well on our website. because I do think that we talk about this a lot on our podcast, that there's a lot of danger in this woo-woo witchy world of this love and light mentality, of this kind of unaware perspective that, well, if you just want, if you just think positively enough, or if you're just manifesting enough, anything can happen. But there's so many other factors that come into play that I don't think that acknowledges that, that thought process acknowledges. So that's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, gosh. So going to the animal communication or pet psychicness, which also love that you spoke about titles and the wording and how people were able to accept you for one title versus another, which is fascinating, because I was just even thinking, like, I changed my name when I moved to New York and came here for college many years ago, very mindfully, without being into this world yet at all, but just thinking, like, I need to be this version of myself. And that, anyway, so that's fascinating. But to your abilities to communicate with animals, I know that was like not your main focus when you were first told that you have that ability, but did you notice any signs growing up? Like, did you ever feel like you had that kind of sensitivity as a child, or this was just something that you've kind of honed as you tapped into your healing journey?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't, I did have a lot of pets growing up, probably more pets than one probably should have had. I had fish, hamsters, gerbils. We had guinea pigs, cats, dogs. At one point we thought we were going to get like a potbelly pig, but we didn't. So, I mean, I always felt a lot of connection with the pets. I can't say that I was the best, caregiver of them, in the sense that, like, my parents were like, we're going to get a dog, but you have to walk it. And, that never went well. But no, I don't really think, honestly, growing up, that there were any, signs that I had this gift at all. What I will say is that as I'm a self-taught dog trainer, I do holistic dog training, and I will, share with you, and I share this with a lot of people. I don't think my parents know what a podcast is, so they won't be listening. But I was pretty neglected growing up, and I will say, though, that how I've used that to my advantage at this point is I look at everything in terms of needs and wants, right? So I think that is one thing that a lot of maybe other people in my industry might not do. When I was developing my curriculum for dog training, I'm like, what is it that the animals are trying to communicate? They're trying to communicate non-verbally, not even, tapped into the whole psychic thing. I'm like, oh, they're just always trying to make a bid for what they want or what they need. And they will almost never say no to food or attention. But I was able to kind of reframe everything into, okay, like, they're trying to get this need met. They want to make it a game. They want, they try to make it a game. They are bored. There are all these different things. So according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, it's like, I'm like, okay, like, where is this falling in, like, where people in terms of their where the pets in terms of that hierarchy. And then also too, like, I also realized, I'm like, if you are communicating with animals, specifically dogs, you have to think about, like, how a dog thinks, and even how we think as human beings, right? Because I also have delved a little bit into, like, dating and relationship coaching. I know we're talking about other stuff, but it's very similar. We all have different parts of our brain that become active at different times. And so one of those things that, that pets, are more in touch with on a regular basis, whether they know it or not, is just kind of like those lower level needs, right? I mean, they're not really lower, but it's like safety, food, shelter, security, like attachment, things like that. And so a lot of their needs that they're trying to meet are just based off of that. And same thing with, like, humans as well. We don't like to think, oh, we're just trying to, have a roof over our head or things like that. So I do frame everything in terms of, like, needs and wants. And I think that informs a lot of the communication that I do and what I do bring to my work. It's very practical and about serving the happiness and the needs of the pets.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's such a key perspective. I will say, like, after even speaking with you, I feel like when we brought our dogs, Bella and Max, to meet you, or Cody, as we also call him now, I grew up with dogs. I fostered dogs. I've always felt very, in tune with animals as just a person. I definitely don't have the gift that you have, but even just speaking with you kind of opened my mind even more in a different way of how I look at my dogs and how I view their behaviors. And it's my husband did not grow up with pets. And so for him, it took him a minute for me. And I had to tell him, like, dogs are not spiteful for the sake of being spiteful. I think a lot of people think of dogs as mini humans, and they're really not. Like, if our dog is acting out, it's because she's frustrated because one of her needs are not being met. There's something going on. Either she's bored, or she's scared, or she feels anxious for some reason. There's something going on underneath it. It's similar to, actually, I feel like, a toddler in a lot of ways.
I feel that the opposite. I've learned to be like, I understand children way more than I used to, because like seeing animals grow up, you're like, oh, I get it. Like, you just need, like, are you hungry? Do you need to use the bathroom? Are you sleepy? Like,
yes.
you can reduce a lot of problems down to that.
Right. I should say, like, not adult humans. Yeah. Yeah, I do often feel like my dogs are basically toddler humans. But yeah, I love that approach. So when you are communicating, like when your friend's rat started talking to you, walk us through that experience. What was that like? What happened? Did you just start hearing voices? What is that? How does that appear for you?
Yeah, it was so interesting. I was sitting, I was at work, and I just heard him saying, it's like, oh, you have to tell, said friend, that if she wants to grow her business, she needs to hire someone from like India or China to do the coding work, because wow. she's in design. Yeah. So that's what I told my friend.
Well, how did she react when you said that?
Oh, she's totally open. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So she was like, okay, yeah, all right. I'm sure she didn't follow that advice. I think she didn't hire her first temporary employee until many years later. And she's like, oh, it's so difficult to have employees. Now I know what you're bitching about. Yeah, it's not easy. All your stuff comes up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On that note, like, I can't believe you were even a business owner for 10 years. That's such an incredible feat. Like, not even like all business owners, it's so much work, but then to have a brick and mortar in New York, like, wow.
Yeah.
You're a saint. I could not deal with that. So when I love that the rat had this advice. When he spoke, when you heard that, does it come across as like your own voice? Is it a knowing? Because we've talked to other, people who are psychic mediums, and sometimes it's more of just like what is the word for? I'm only thinking of the word clairaudient, but there's also like the 5 clairs or whatever, right? Like clairsalience, and then so there's one where it's just you just know, and then I've also spoken with people who can actually hear physical voices. How does it manifest for you?
It's a lot of the clairs, actually. So when it comes to like, I can actually go into the animal and like see through their eyes and hear through their ears. I mostly will only do that like intentionally. I'll do that if I'm asked a question. So like, I obviously work with pets of all different ages and health conditions. So some parents will ask me, okay, is my dog, how blind is my dog? And I'll look and I'll be like, okay, I'll describe what I see as them. Or how deaf is, it was so funny yesterday. So they asked, is my pet going deaf? And I was like, no.
I just go on a list.
And the husband's like, I knew it. Every time there's like a candy wrapper, like, or you open a bag of chips, like the dog is right there.
Just not listening. Selective hearing.
Yeah, selective hearing.
Selective hearing. Yeah.
That's so funny. Blowing up their spot.
Totally. But yeah, it's all of the clairs. Wow. I can taste what they taste. I can't really like necessarily smell, which is interesting, smell what they smell. And then I hear them too. Like, so I will have like not random pets. When I had my daycare, I remember one dog said, I need to go to the hospital. And so we took her in. Yeah. And I do hear, them very loud and clear, like it's my time, I want to go as well, versus like, oh my God, I'm not even thinking about death. So, it's a battle, different clients, like, some people, they don't even want to hear that that's on the table. And I'm like, your pet is like really ready. It's been ready, So they tend to be very verbal about that. And a lot of it is channeling, to be honest. So like a lot of times I will, everyone wants me to tell their pet, and rightfully so, like I love whatever. And then whenever I say that, like I can feel as their pet, normally like they get really excited or they get really happy, get relaxed. So when I'm delivering a message, either as like channel or, translating it, I can feel and experience, in the pet's body, what's happening for them, which is pretty cool. So when you work with me, I don't know about other, psychic mediums who do this kind of work, the message tends to go deeper and be received in a more profound way, I think, than when the pet parent says it. I'm imagining, because it's like, I don't know, because I'm a direct channel to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So I want to hear about, Kate, you had a reading, right?
Yes. Cynthia, I know you do a mixture of personal, private, virtual appointments, like via Zoom or whatever on video, and then that are longer form. And then you also do pop-ups at different locations. You're based in New York City, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so like I'm in Jersey, Emily's in Queens. So I know, just for our listeners, if we have several in New York. If you're in New York, keep an eye out for Cynthia's pop-ups, but you can also book with her virtually from anywhere. So you did a pop-up, this was like maybe a month ago now, in Denville, New Jersey, at, was it Wagon Bone is the name of the place?
No, Mutts on Main.
Mutts on Main.
I love that.
I don't know where I got Wagon Bone.
Wagon Bone is also so funny, though, as like a Rag and Bone parody.
Okay, so confession, I'm a Sims player, and I did create a doggy daycare in Sims called Wagon Bone recently.
Oh, it's your own business idea.
Oh my God,
it's coming through, Kate.
Yes, I know. They just came out with a small business pack, and I'm obsessed. I just like building the buildings and then moving on. So I have like 12 different small businesses. Anyway, sorry. It's soothing in the evenings. Mutts on Main in Denville. Lovely place. And so we went to a pop-up with you. This is before, obviously, we recorded this. And I brought my 2 dogs. And it's really funny because I feel like my female dog, Bella, talks to me all the time. And I cannot hear her. I do, I took a psychic mediumship course with our friend Emily Grote a couple years ago. I've done access consciousness, like, I've done the bars, but it's still something that it's still a very, very soft, light skill for me. Like, it's something that quite honestly, I'm really scared of it. That's why I think like a big thing holding me back. But I do feel like sometimes if I just sit with her for a moment, I can get at least a feeling of what she might need, of like, oh, because she whines to me all the time. I mean, she's also a staffy mix, so they whine constantly as it is. But like she'll whine to me all the time, and I'll be like, I'll just sit with her for a moment and be like, oh, I think she needs to go to the bathroom. Or like, oh, she really doesn't like the fan on her. I think she wants a blanket over her, like things like that. And we'll try it and then see if that helps. And it usually does help with her. But we were super excited to take them to meet with you. And we'll post some clips on the podcast of our session. But some standout moments, I mean, all of it was incredible, because I remember right out the gate, the first thing you said was like, Bella has so much she wants to say. She's really frustrated. And that was like abundantly clear. She's also just very anxious and a ball of anxiety, and she's very talkative. And Max is our potato. We like to joke that Bella is a demon shark goddess. I call her Bellatrix Lestrange. Like she's very complicated. She's my familiar. And Max is just happy to be here. And so she took up most of the session, and she spoke a lot. And we were just talking about this the other day. I was asking about her health, and you were talking to her, and you were like, oh, she doesn't want her spot blown up because she knows she's being recorded right now. Like she wants me to follow HIPAA. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll like block out your face for this part, Bella, or whatever. And it's so funny because she will, every time we try to take a picture of her, she will literally move. She'll pose perfectly until we bring out the camera, and then she'll walk away. She hates being on camera. She's a very private girl. She does not, I can tell that she gets embarrassed when I speak about her health to other people. Like when I talk about her poops or whatever. Like she's very private. And so, and my girl also has IBS, and so I get it. Like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So Max, however, does not care. He's like, he'll pose, he'll glam, like he loves it. He doesn't care. Zero shame in that boy. You know, very few thoughts pinging around in that head. In the sweetest way. But it was just really funny. And then another thing you said for her is that she really wants alone time. She really wants to like have independent time. She's exploring her own independent journey. These are things just purely from my memory that I'm remembering from our session. And so ever since then, we've started taking her on solo walks. Like I will just go with her and Max will stay home, or just recently Matt, my husband, went out with her. Because we've seen that physically happen. Like all the time, Max will just be on top of her and she'll start whining and sighing. And you can tell that she just wants him to get off of her and she just feels really suffocated. And so we see that in her physical body all the time, in her body language. And then another thing with Max real quick that I'll say that's really fun is that we weren't expecting this. Apparently he was excited about antique shopping, so we need to find a garage sale or something to take him to. But then also that he's okay with the codependence. That doesn't bother him, but he would like a more exciting name. And we just use the names that the rescue gave us. And you went through a couple names, Cynthia. You went through like Nathaniel or something else, and then you landed on, you said Cody. And as soon as she said Cody, his tail started wagging, and he had a big grin on his face. And we were like, really? Cody? Like that's the name you want? And we were like, okay. And to this day, I will ask him every day. I'm like, is it a Cody day or a Max day? Because sometimes I feel like he'll only respond if it's Cody, or sometimes he'll only respond if it's Max. And like, so I'm calling it his Sasha Fierce persona. Like some days he's just a Cody and some days he's a Max.
I love that.
And sometimes he will not listen to me, like purposely ignore me when I'm calling him Max, and then I'll switch and I'll say, I'm sorry, Cody, will you please sit? And then he'll listen. It's very funny.
That is
very
hilarious. Funny. What a personality. What a card.
I know. That's nuts. Gosh. So yeah, we'll post some clips of this, but it was such a great time. And you were so generous. Thank you with your time and everything. I know you have so many people to see. What is your process to prepare for like a busy day? I mean, you're booked all the time. Do you do like a little meditation to start with? Like take us through your process.
How do you preserve your energy, or do you feel like it doesn't drain you?
Oh no. I was, so when I first started doing pop-ups, I could only do about like 2 hours, and then I would just go home and pass out at like 9 o'clock and snore all night. So I do work with a guru in India, and he gave me a special mantra for my pet voice. And then he also helped me clear, something that like, sessions are going to not drain my energy. So I do that. And before every session, I do a quick, I ground everyone, then I ask, for guidance and things like that. And I'm still growing my muscle to make sure that I don't lose too much energy when I'm, going back to back to back. And I will say though that like that helps a lot. I kind of over the weekend, somebody kind of got me though. They asked about one pet that passed over, and I've since learned I can read pets that have passed over, but it's not my specialty. It's not my joy. And this woman had me read 5 or 6 of her pets, and I'm still recovering from it. Her pets that have passed on. And so it's like, I learned it's like, I'm capable of doing it, but it goes somewhere. My brain goes somewhere where it takes days to recover. So I'm happy to connect with someone's passed over pet for like, 2 minutes, one quick little exchange. But like, that's really like, that's the max of where like my capabilities can go. And it's not something that I care to develop. It's someone else's gift. I'm more of, like we do with the pets that are still here right now. So yeah, it's it's just a lot of the building the muscles, and then I can go for about like 2.5 hours, and then I need an hour break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine. So yeah, that would actually brings us to a great part, like section of this podcast. What are some do's and don'ts that you would love to tell your future prospective clients, I feel like a lot of people get really excited about the idea of talking to a psychic, especially the idea of communicating with their pets, their loved ones. They're basically our children, right? Our family. But I'm sure a lot of people also try to cross boundaries or have unrealistic expectations or whatnot. I mean, so what would your advice be to people who want to seek out services like yours? Either like with you directly or through a similar psychic? Like, what have you noticed over the years?
Yeah. So one thing that I have noticed is that, like there's a range of personalities in terms of expression. It's a bell curve, right? So we have people who are within like a certain range, and then people who, pets who have like, incredibly developed, intricate personalities, and pets who are just like, I just want to chase squirrels and eat snacks all day and go for walks. And so I try to manage people's expectations. If you don't let them know, I'm like, your pet's letting me know right now, don't expect like a whole lot of zhuzh and flavor during the session because they identify as simple or like a traditional dog from like the 80s and before. So that's one thing. Another thing, what else? Another thing too, this is just like a housekeeping thing. I realized that like I can't read people's pets when the person's outside.
Huh.
So I've had a couple of readings where people are like out at the park, and it's just for whatever reason, I need someone inside on a couch at a desk, something like that, because for whatever reason, maybe I'm just picking up on all the craziness of all the other things that are alive, the bugs, the worms, the birds. And it's like, I can't get a clear channel. I would say that would be another thing. And then I would also say, it's like, I'm a healer too. Like first and foremost, like I'm a healer, right? Like I didn't stumble across this profession, totally by happenstance. It's like I'm open to a lot of things, and there's a lot of things that I don't have a point of view about. So, I'm holistic. I'm into woo-woo stuff. There's a time and a place for, kibble and traditional medicine and stuff. But like, I don't have a point of view either way about, what your pet wants or needs. I'm just communicating it. Yeah. And so I try to manage people's expectations the best that I can. And I think everyone does want to feel more connected to their pet, which is why I keep my prices. I think that they're pretty low, because I want it to be accessible. And yeah.
That's incredible. Speaking of the noises in the background, that's your dog Ash, you said?
It's not it's my friend's dog. Sorry for the barking.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's super cute. We love guest stars. We love guest stars.
What would a pet psychic episode be without dog noises in the background?
Exactly. I wanted to ask, like, you do have a dog, you said, though, right?
Yes.
Still with you. Do you talk to them all the time? Like, what is that relationship like in terms of, do you turn on and off the channel? Do you sometimes are like, mom needs alone time? Like, curious how that works out.
He does talk to me and he tells me stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes I don't believe him. Because, it's like I have this fear that like my pets are going to, pass away, whatever. So, unexpectedly, things like I have my own fears. So it's like I don't always listen if it's negative, but it turns out he was sick. And so now I feel kind of bad about that. But yeah, I mean, the dogs that I take care of, because I do dog boarding as well, and it really is my joy. They will talk to me constantly. And it's hilarious because I love to make up like names for them. And like, there's one of my favorites is her name's Ruby. So I call her my little Tuesday, and she hates it. She's like, you can call me Wednesday, but I'm not your little Tuesday. And I was like, you are my little Tuesday. And she doesn't like that. And then another one, Riley, she's also like adorable. She just turned 15. She's a little, I think, Schnauzer Shih Tzu mix. And I'm just like, oh, you're like, I said, you're my little, she's like, I'm not your little girl. You're not my person. And she's very loyal to her person. And then I have another dog who was just here over the weekend, Cleo, and she speaks to me in Spanish.
Wow. That's so funny.
Do you speak Spanish? Is it possible for you to
understand? But she does. I do know a little bit of Spanish, and she says, what does she say? She says Le Perro de Carolina. Carolina's dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is
So
is her Oh, go ahead, sorry.
her owner is Mexican.
I was going to ask if her owner speaks Spanish. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wonder too, just thinking this through, like a lot of dogs are rescues, so they have previous lives before their owners even get them. And I think that's a big thing that like we always wonder is, what were our dogs like before we were, you know, before our paths crossed? What were their puppy like? What were they like as puppies? You know, so have you? I wonder too, like if they had previous owners that did speak a different language and then, you know, somehow got lost or abandoned and then were adopted. You know, that's so funny. Have you encountered any stories like that where a rescue dog has had like a very colorful past life that they've talked about, or do they really mostly focus on their current life?
Gosh. I'm sure that there has been a dog that has had a very colorful past life. I can't recall any right now, but a lot of them don't want to talk to me about their past. You know, like a lot of them will just make up stories and I can tell when they're lying.
Like a kid almost.
Yeah, like they'll just, you know, they'll sugarcoat it or it doesn't bother them. But yeah, I mean, I will say that that's not my specialty, talking to them about, you know, I'm not going to pry, but it's not something that any particular pet has been very very vocal about with me. And I'm also horrible at guessing the year that, you know, like not guessing, but like, you know, a lot of dogs don't know, or pets don't know how old they are.
Right. Yeah. You know, why would they? They don't understand dates and times like that. Like, why would they know that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty good at guessing like birthdays, but not birth years.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So as well as the pet psychic stuff that you do now, it sounds like you've been on like a long journey of spirituality. What does your current practice look like outside of, is this like your only sort of, for lack of a better term, witchy thing that you do, or do you still sort of participate in other sort of like spirituality?
Yeah, so I do I mean, I don't know if this is witchy or not. I think the person I work with is pretty in tune with, you know, her gifts, but I do see someone who does network chiropractic. And so it looks pretty woo-woo, like it's pretty hands-off and they barely touch you and your body can, you know, really experience a lot of shifts. So I do that every 2 weeks. I fly to Dubai like every 6 to 8 weeks right now, because that's where my guru goes there and teaches classes. So I do that, you know, I'm going to Dubai a couple of weeks for the third time in 6 months. And then I do, you know, just for other consciousness things, like he has one right now, it's on, you know, on fat. So, you know, I'm trying to like, you know, regulate my fat and all that stuff. So like I'm doing a program for that with him, and he has like certain mantras. So he boosts your vibration from like, you know, I was at 125, now I'm at 500. But like, I do have to say like my mantras at least once a week, and I can tell the difference when my energy dips. And so I do, you know, say my mantras at the gym all the time, and I'm always looking for ways with him or with other, you know, occasionally some other healer with like how to make my work better. Like, how do I become faster, more precise? Like just this morning, I'm like, okay, like I'm noticing I used to get a lot of positive feedback about training the animals to do certain things. And he's like, well, what changed? And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, I was just visualizing them doing stuff as opposed to telling them. So the animals hear it better for me when it's a visual as opposed to verbal. So I switched back to that today, because I was like, why am I not getting the same results and the text messages the next day about, you know, feedback? And it was like, oh, it's that. So, yeah, those are the things that I do, that are like kind of witchy, I guess, to keep my energy up. And I of course I read a lot, and, I read a lot, and I have a lot of books that have like a sacred geometry or like different symbols that people have downloaded. And I do, you know, sometimes my friends and I do trades for emotion and body code. I do Reiki on myself almost every day.
Okay.
So
lots of different stuff.
A lot.
It's a way of life for you. It
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And I
amazing.
mean, witchy is obviously like, it's something we talk about a lot is like, what does that term mean other than just like spirituality outside of sort of,
Conscious, yeah.
yeah. Like outside of like some of the mainstream religions. you know?
Exactly. Well, okay, I know we're running short on time, so I'm sure people are anxious to know, how do they work with you? How do they find you? How do they book sessions with you? Where can everyone find you on the internet?
Sure. So I have a TikTok and an Instagram. It's the handle is at Lil Miss Pet Psychic, kind of like the Little Miss things from the 80s, those books.
Yes.
And I have online booking for that. And then I'm trying to do the digital nomad thing. So I'm trying to go to a different city,
Hell yeah.
every other month. So I'm trying to book Montreal. Nobody is receptive up there to me right now. So I'm trying to go to Montreal. I would love to be a digital nomad in Japan, but yeah, just booking online would be the best. And there's no real difference between like in person and over Zoom in terms of quality, but sometimes it is nice to see the person that you're working with or the pet.
For sure.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing.
Love that.
Well, we'll definitely we'll link to everything on our Instagram and on our website as well, so people can find you. But why don't we draw a card before we let Cynthia get back to her communications?
Yeah, real quick. I have the Winged Enchantment Oracle deck here. I figured since we have a pet psychic on, we might as well do a sort of
we didn't even
animal
talk
themed
about
oracle
birds.
deck. I know.
We should have you back again another time, and we'll talk about other animals too. I mean, gosh, I have been having a hawk follow me for weeks lately.
Oh wow!
And actually, it left me a gift, a headless dove.
Ooh.
On my driveway. I know. My husband cleaned it up, but he was like, "Oh, I don't think this was the neighborhood cat." He's like, I was like, "Oh, it was the hawk.
It was
the hawk
that
left
hawk.
us a gift. She brought us an offering." I feel so honored.
All right, so I have pulled a card, and what I have here is number 39, the Wren.
Ooh.
And it's like a lady with wings bursting out of her. She sort of looks like Jan from The Office, I'd say.
We'll post a photo on our Instagram, and you guys can debate if you think that's true. She looks a little like Dame Judi Dench to me, but I just saw it very briefly.
A young Judi Dench, I could see.
Young Judi Dench.
Yeah. She looks like someone else, but I can't place it. Okay, so here is what the book says, and this deck is by Leslie Morrison with artwork by Lisa Hunt. So it says, I am Wren, the active spirit and giving heart. I am poetic inspiration. I am the energy of life and the utilization of everything this earth yields. I waste no time. I squander no resources. I am life lived to its fullest. I am the bold use of both agility and wit. You have encountered a need to stay alert. You have reason to make things